Comparative essay, Oceania and Asia. Culture and society, two sides of the same coin, and the key to understanding the evolution of civilization. UNESCO says culture is defined as a very substratum of all human activities, which derive their meaning and value from it. UNESCO 2009. This means culture is based of everything and the reason of why humanity does what it does. Philosophy professor Alex Honeth defines society as the different types of human agrupations in an agreement, promise, or contract. Honeth, 1998. This shows how one takes part in the beliefs of humanity and the other takes part in the morality of humanity. Both of these go hand in hand, for they can influence and affect each other. The following question is of great importance to answer in order to explain the relationship between countries, culture, and society, and how these interact with each other. The question reads, in what way did the study of death in different regions help you understand the evolution of culture and its impact in society? To answer this question, it is necessary to analyze and compare the culture and society of two continents with very different ethnicities and cultures. First, the continents had to be chosen, followed by selecting two countries from each continent. After the selections are done, the most crucial part comes, an investigation of each of the country's death rituals. This is done to analyze how the interactions between a country's society and culture has affected a tradition of great importance, such as how is death dealt with. The continents and countries have been selected. The continents will be Oceania and Asia, and the countries will be Australia and New Zealand for Oceania, and Japan and Thailand for Asia. Australia is the largest island on Earth, and home to some of the most diverse cultures in existence. These cultures are called Aboriginals, and although they have many similarities in beliefs, their traditions, language, and customs vary in each tribe. Due to this, death rituals may vary between Aboriginal tribes. But one thing doesn't change, is the idea that the purpose of death ritual is to ensure that the spirit of the deceased passes peacefully to the afterlife. The Aboriginals' death rituals can last for days and even weeks. In each, the people perform a series of ceremonies and various dances, each with its own meaning according to the tribe's tradition. And these as well are spread throughout the days the ritual lasts. It is common between Aboriginal tribes to believe that mentioning the name of the deceased would disturb its spirit and cause misfortune. Aboriginal families will not have photographs of their loved ones after they die. They may also use substitute names such as Kaminajaye, Kwementyaye, or Kunamanara in order to refer to the person who has died without using their name. After the death ritual has ended, the family of the deceased can opt between burying their body or cremating it.
New Zealand is a set of two large islands located southeast of Australia, and is quite different. Two tribes sharing beliefs and traditions. The ritual is the same in all different tribes or clans. When a person dies, his or her body is taken to a sacred place called the marae, where the ritual is performed. The name of the ritual is Tangihanga, and it consists of a 3-day-long ceremony in which the body of the deceased is never left alone, while its family and friends feast, dance, and sleep in the marae. To take care of the body during the ceremony, the Maoris perform the Hek dance, an ancient one dance that now is used to honor the deceased. The reason all of this is done is to grant the soul of the deceased a peaceful transition from the world of the living to the afterlife. Nowadays, because of the British influence, these two countries had during the colonialism, the most common form of the ritual is the standard European funeral, which consists of a wake followed by a burial and cremation the next day. The death ritual is mostly performed in large cities, though in New Zealand there are many maraes throughout different cities. In both Australia and New Zealand, the clash between cultures can be seen throughout the country's history, and now a healthy relationship has been established between the native and Western cultures. Now Japan. Japan is a nation set in the archipelago in the Pacific Ocean, near Korea. Buddhism and Shintoism are their main religions, although they are not as orthodox. Japan has had many changes in society, as well as its culture in the past years, so the people has become more familiar with the concept of dying, which has led to the establishment of an ideology of living life to its fullest as a part of the culture. The ritual in Japan is very similar to the ones in the West. When someone dies, there is first a viewing of wake, followed by the incineration of the deceased. Every year in Japan, around the middle of August, there is a festival called Bon Odori, or Festival of the Dead. The purpose of this festival is to give a new welcome to the souls of the loving ones that have passed away. The one in charge of organizing the event is the eldest son of the family. During this festival, the family puts an altar, or butsudan, in the house of the deceased. In the altar are pictures and objects of failure of the deceased. In Japan, there is an important superstition about the numbers 4 and 9 being disrespectful to the deceased. This is due to the similarity between the pronunciation of these numbers and the words death and suffering. In Japanese language, the number 4 is pronounced shi, which is the same way the word of dead is pronounced. Arutsini M. 2014.
Thailand is located in Southeast Asia between Laos, Cambodia, and Burma. It is very attached to Buddhist religion, basing its traditions in it. When someone dies, the monks take a big role in the death ritual. The ceremony takes part in a temple and it consists on the bathing of the body, in which water is poured into one of the hands and then put it inside the coffin, surrounding it with candles, incense, and wreaths. Then the coffin is taken to the house of the family for some days, and in the nights relatives and close friends will come to play games and dine. Monks come as well every day to chant, and it is important that the family offers them food as a gesture of gratitude for the ritual. The day of the cremation or burial, a person with a white banner and a woman with flowers will lead the way, followed by 8 or 10 monks. The people present gifts for the deceased to enjoy after death. Then the body is either buried or cremated. The duration of this death ritual may vary according to the wealth of the deceased, because the more wealthy one is, the more time this person can stay in the temple before the burial or cremation. Funerals for Thai Buddhists can go on for much longer than what you may have seen before in the West. It could last from anything from 1 week to a year of two. Barrow, R. 2011. After the 4 countries have been analyzed, the previous question can be answered. All around the world, death has been a key element in the evolution of human civilization. There has been many different definitions of death between the various cultures that have existed. These cultures created traditions specifically to commemorate or understand death, and these traditions are some of the most important because they bear within them the very essence of their own cultures. These traditions are unique to each culture, and these tend to change as the culture evolves, and thus impact the development of their society.
We can see a traditional Maori experience an automobile accident, and of course, the following death, with a representation of the spirit slowly leaving the body. After some time, the accident is found by other shocked Maori, who quickly move the body away from the wreck and the fire into a hospital, in hopes that the man can be saved. We can see the Maori carrying the dead body into a coffin, waiting for the rest of the Maori members to arrive as they lay down the body in order to continue with the ritual. Of course, the ritual being the tangi hanga, which is a traditional death ritual for Maoris in New Zealand, in which all close friends, family, and even people who he worked with gather in order to let the spirit never be alone. Of course, the traditional members come dressed in the traditional garb because they are the ones who represent the Haka dance. As the people start arriving, the traditional Maori, honoring the dead, get into a line and start the haka dance. The haka dance started as a war dance, however, over time it was adapted into a dance to honor the dead and let the spirits rest in the afterlife. Finally, as the haka dance is over, the family members gather with the dead body. The Tangihanga states that the family members must stay at least 3 days with the body in order to let its spirit go to the afterlife without being ever alone. All the close friends and family stay for 3 days until there is no one left, and the body is finally buried and its spirit goes to the afterlife. We will now see the Western Australian burial, starting of course with the death of a man by a bear attack. As time passes, the body is found and taken by authorities to inform family and friends and wait for their choice. After a while, the body is eventually taken to the cemetery, where a short funeral takes place. As all the people involved with the person who died gather in order to remember the person who died and talk about their life, their accomplishments, and what the person meant to them. The family or friends are given a moment of mourning to remember and keep the dead person in their hearts. After a while passes, eventually people will start leaving one by one, leaving the body buried behind, and slowly the family will too leave. Finally, we are viewing the Australian Aboriginal death ritual. We start by seeing a man get attacked by a buffalo and killed. The body is found by a fellow tribesman and carried away. After a while, the members of the village gather and bury the body. This is the start of a week-long or sometimes even much longer festival to honor the dead person, characterized by much dancing, by processions, and by a lot of partying, eating, and celebrating. This is in order for the people not to be sad but happy because the person has gone on to a better place, and for the spirit of the dead person to leave the mortal plane in a happy way. We can also see a deep focus on spirituality, thanks to the fact that they can't mention the name of the dead person or even show pictures or anything related to them, so that the spirit in this time of transition isn't disturbed. We can see that there are many tribes, so the processions, dances, and celebrations usually vary between them. However, most of them are characterized by processions throughout the whole village made by the members in order to carry the dead body to its burying ground.
During this project, we were given the chance to investigate 4 different countries. They were Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Thailand. Throughout the project, we saw the dead traditions and how they changed society and how society changed the dead traditions. In the case of Australia and New Zealand, we saw that the bigger the country is, or the bigger the community is, the quicker and formal is the death ritual. Meanwhile, the little countries are more informal and have more rituals, and it's larger during the celebration. We saw, for example, in Japan and Thailand, that they are very focused on these traditions in the religion. They are really focused in the religion and how the religion says it has to go. This was an opportunity given by PDM because they give us the project and the objective to see all these cultures and investigate a little more about their culture.
Okay, so what we can conclude from the investigation that we did about New Zealand and Australia, we can infer that there is a very big difference in pre-colonial and post-colonial, the society and the culture. Before the Europeans arrived, the cultures were very small. They did a very big focus on spirituality, on family, on bonds, on the society. And as Europeans arrived and they clashed and they formed new cultures, they joined families, they fought, they died, and they fought for their beliefs. A new type of society was formed. Obviously, the European influence became very strong because they brought a lot of people, and the Maori and in this case Aboriginal cultures can't be kept, sorry, with such a big amount of people. So what they did was mix both, and you can choose whatever you want after many years of infighting, of decision making, of law making, of law breaking. That was what resulted as a society. We can also see how people deal with this. In this case, we investigated in the death aspect. We investigated the Maori death ritual, which was based around dances and remembering the death and being with the dead person, and all around the bonds that you form when you were alive, and for those bonds to be important even when you leave this earth. And we contrasted it with the European counterpart, which was more cold and faster due to the big amount of people that formed and due to the rather cold compared to the Maoris, which are very small, tiny groups. And the same in the Aboriginals, the various dances, the various processions that they do. We studied them and we explained them and we contrasted them with the European side.
Throughout this project and PTM, I've had the opportunity to experience firsthand cultures different from that of Mexico. I learned that as globalization progresses, I will encounter different cultures, and I believe that I will enjoy it.
Working on this project gave me the opportunity to learn about different cultures and societies that exist around the world. This just shows the great opportunities and options the PTM programs offer their students inside and outside the classroom in tech.